Did you know that the foods that you eat can really have a big impact on your bladder function? Today we're going to go through foods and drinks that are commonly available that can really contribute to bladder urgency and overactive bladder problems. Hi, I'm Michelle, and today we're going to take you through some of the foods that can really cause havoc with your bladder. We're going to be looking at caffeine, we're going to be looking at acidic foods, we're going to be looking at alcohol, and we're also going to be looking at spices and condiments. And then finally, we'll finish off with just taking a look at some of the types of foods that can really cause havoc with your bladder when you're going out. So these are the types of foods and drinks that you might want to avoid. Now remember, the foods and drinks that I'm about to talk about are not necessarily foods that you have to avoid all the time. They're just maybe foods that you might like to be aware of, and if you'd like to eliminate them for a week or two and then reintroduce, that's fine. But this is just intended as general information, not a dietary guide. So it may come as no surprise to know that caffeine is one of the big bladder irritants, but what is surprising is some of the places that it's actually found. So we all know that coffee contains caffeine as well as black tea. But what's surprising is that green tea also has a high caffeine content, and also too decaffeinated coffee. So these things can both irritate the bladder lining, and also too the caffeine has a diuretic effect. So it actually pulls extra fluid into the bladder and causes the muscle to contract, causing your urgency. So other drinks that actually contain caffeine, your energy drinks. So these are a big one. Your cola drinks. And just because you're having decaf doesn't mean that it's not going to irritate your bladder. Cola can be very acidic, so the acid in the cola can also irritate the bladder as well as the caffeine. Now, finally, in our caffeine section, chocolate. So this is a bit disappointing, isn't it? We've got our dark chocolates. So obviously, the darker the chocolate, so this is an 85% chocolate, that's going to have a much greater effect because of the higher cacao content than say a 60% chocolate. And this one's one of your double whammies, isn't it? It's a dark chocolate with chili. So that's something that you really want to know about from reading your ingredients in terms of the type of irritant, chocolate irritant. Cacao can be in chocolate paddle pops, chocolate ice creams. There's a range of areas that it can be in. So it's really important to read your ingredients to know where your chocolate is. Oh, and that bit of chocolate needs some tidying up. So let's now move on to alcohol. Alcohol is the second bladder irritant I wanted to talk about today. Alcohol can have a twofold effect. It can actually dehydrate you, so it increases urine production, and it also too decreases or slows the signals from your brain to your bladder, the emptying signals. So I've got two bottles of wine here, a red and a white. White typically have the lower alcohol concentrations, so if it comes down to choosing between wines for your bladder, you might want to choose a white wine, say a Riesling or a Sauvignon Blanc, over a stronger red wine. Now, carbonated wines and alcohols are more problematic than your flat white wines, and this is because the bladder doesn't like carbonated drinks, and that includes soda water and standard mixers as well. So we've got our carbonated beer here, and also too your carbonated white wines and champagne. So these are going to be more problematic than your flat white wines, and because of the combination of both elements of the carbonated factor as well as the alcohol. Now, if we move along here, looking at spirits, so we've got some double whammies here, haven't we? We've got, here's a coffee liqueur, so you've got the alcohol combined with coffee, or the caffeine that we've already spoken about. And this is one of my personal favourites, limoncello, love it, but it's also, in addition to the alcohol, it's got the lemon, so the lemon is acidic. So you want to be mindful of your liqueurs, orange, lemon liqueurs, and those types of alcohol liqueurs that can also contain acidic flavours as well. Finally, we've got our typical scotch, vodka, these types of drinks, again, high in alcohol content. And so you also need to think about the mixes. So if you're mixing with a Diet Coke or a caffeine drink, then you've got to think about the added effect of the alcohol and the caffeine. So then to decrease the effect on your bladder, you might want to just have a drink on ice, less alcohol, but ideally you're going to go for your lower alcohol types. I'll be discussing some of the more preferable alcohol types in my next video on bladder-friendly foods to choose, so you might want to subscribe to that below to catch that video. So moving on now to some of our acidic foods that you might want to know about. Obviously, tomatoes are one of the biggies. So many of us know that tomatoes can be a big issue, but you might not know that yellow tomatoes, a lot of tomatoes, are a lot less acidic than the red tomatoes. So if you can't tolerate red tomatoes, yellow tomatoes might be a little option that you can try. If we look at, in terms of vegetables, onions, raw onions are highly acidic, so they're going to really irritate the bladder lining. Other acidic foods that will be likely to irritate the bladder lining include capsicums. We've got obviously our citrus foods, our oranges, our lemons and our limes, pineapples, and also our kiwi fruits here as well. Now, some of the other acidic elements can include our condiments. So things like pickles, obviously vinegar, that's extremely acidic, soy sauce, and some of our other condiments and spices that you might want to know about are things like your mustard. So mustard is obviously going to be a bladder irritant. And we've also got things like our spices. So we've got our chilies, so we've got chilies and paprika. And these are the types of things that will also have an irritating effect on the bladder. But then you also need to remember to read your ingredients. So your salsa will often have ingredients like your paprika and your chilies hidden away. So think about reading your ingredients for hidden spices as well. You might not know that some artificial sweeteners can also irritate the bladder, particularly artificial sweeteners that consist of saccharin or aspartame. So be careful with the use of aspartame. You might want to choose a product like Splenda or Stevia instead. And notice where your artificial sweeteners are contained. So these sugar-free candies, your chewing gum, also all contain artificial sweeteners. So be mindful of your intake of those. So also to our medications, some common headache tablets contain caffeine, vitamin C tablets, and also multivitamins. So all these things can be potentially hidden that can be affecting your bladder. Now finally, there are some foods that are more likely to increase overactive bladder problems when you're eating out. Unfortunately, these are some of our favourite international cuisines, with dishes such as spicy Indian curries and vindaloos, spicy Thai foods, and also Mexican foods, particularly those that are tomato-based, combined with hot chilies. Instead, try to choose plain meat or vegetable options from these cuisines, along with grains such as plain rice and bread. So as you can see, there's a huge range of potential bladder irritants that you might want to know about. We've talked about caffeine, we've talked about alcohol, we've talked about spices, we've also talked about acidic foods, and we've talked about artificial sweeteners. So don't forget too your double whammies, such as your chocolate liqueurs or your chili chocolates. So I really hope this provides you with some information that you didn't already know that helps you address your overactive bladder. In my next video, don't forget I'll be covering alternatives to these foods. So if you'd like to catch that video, don't forget to subscribe below. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.